Yeah, I've noticed. Good morning. I'm Colin Willoughby, the President of State Bar, and I want to welcome you all here today. Thank you all for being here, making all the accommodations that had to be made to be here under the circumstances, and we appreciate that for this very special occasion. And I know that the folks at the State Bar have worked very hard to pull this together, and a lot of other folks. And from the second happiest person here today, I'd like to welcome y'all all here, other than Barbara. If you call on Darrin Jordan for our invocation.
For our invocation today, I am going to look to a lawyer's prayer to St. Thomas More. For those of you who don't know who St. Thomas More is, he's the patron saint of attorneys and politicians. I pray for the glory of God and in the pursuit of his justice that I, with you, St. Thomas More, may be trustworthy with confidences, keen in study, accurate in analysis, correct in conclusion, able in argument, loyal to clients, honest with all, courteous to adversaries, ever attentive to conscience. Sit with me at my desk and listen with me to my clients' tales. Read me in my library and stand always beside me, so that today I shall not win a point, lose my soul. Pray for me and with me that my family may find in me what your family found in you: friendship and courage, cheerfulness, charity, diligence in duties, counsel in adversity, patience in pain, their good servant, but God's first. Amen.
Thank you, Darrin. we would like to recognize some of the folks that are here today that are special guests of the folks here involved. Barbara Christy's family, her husband Rick is here along with her family back there. Y'all just please feel free to introduce yourself to folks after this is over. And Darrin, Jordan's wife, Dana, is here with us. We appreciate you being here. And Marcia, Armstrong's husband Lamar, and her family is here, and we appreciate all of you being here. And my tolerant wife, Tricia, is here, and I appreciate her being here today. Thank you for that. We also have Elizabeth Spainhauer, the daughter of our past president, Erwin Spainhauer, is with us for a portion of the program later on. And we have a very special guest here today, our Chief Justice, Sherry Beasley. We have frequent interactions with the courts in our regulatory role of the bar, and Justice Beasley has always been so considerate and makes time for us, rearranges and adjusts her schedule to do the kinds of things that are helpful to the bar. The court has been so sensitive to us and the need to regulate, particularly under this climate that we've been in. And for all of those things and many more, we appreciate having a Chief Justice who really has the heart of a servant. If you would come and give an oath of office to our new officers. Thank you, Chief.
First, we will have Marcia Armstrong and her family to please come forward. She wants y'all up here. This is a proud moment. Mom want to get what she wants today, for sure. Marcia, please place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right. Do you, Marcia Armstrong, duly elected Vice President of the North Carolina State Bar, hereby solemnly and sincerely swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina, and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution and laws of the United States, and that you will well and truly execute the duties of your office as Vice President of the North Carolina State Bar to the best of your skill and ability and agreeable to the laws, so help you God. Congratulations. Darrin and your family. Do you, Darrin Dupree Jordan, duly elected President-elect of the North Carolina State Bar, solemnly and sincerely swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina, and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution and laws of the United States, and that you will well and truly execute the duties of your office as President-elect of the North Carolina State Bar to the best of your skill and ability and agreeable to the laws, so help you God. Congratulations. Barbara, please place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right. Do you, Barbara R. Christy, the duly elected president of the North Carolina State Bar, hereby solemnly and sincerely swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution and laws of the United States, and that you will well and truly execute the duties of your office as president of the North Carolina State Bar to the best of your skill and ability, and agreeable to the laws, so help you God.
I do, and I will.
Congratulations.
Voila. Congratulations to the new officers of the North Carolina State Bar. I want to thank Colin Willoughby for his leadership this past year, and to all the officers who have worked so hard. This has indeed been quite a year, and I am so grateful for your leadership and for the opportunity to work with each of you. And Colin, you have been funny, but serious during some really important times, and so I really do appreciate you so very much. I thank the State Bar counselors as well for their leadership and the staff of the North Carolina State Bar. I congratulate Barbara on assuming the role of president. It's been wonderful to get to know you over the last year, and I look forward to working with you going forward. This year really has challenged us all in some ways we never imagined. I'm very proud, however, of the courts of our state's response to this pandemic. I think each of you knows that I have issued several emergency directives over the last several months, 20 I think or more, to guide the court's operations during this very difficult time. My primary during this period of time really has been to make sure that we are safe, and that we're handling as many cases as possible. Judges, I'm so proud of them. They have all moved very swiftly, and other court leaders, to make sure that we've been able to conduct as much of our court's business as possible. And so much of our business is being conducted online now, and the AOC has worked countless hours to improve and expand online services. Safety really has been our #1 concern. Face coverings and social distancing are required in all court facilities, and temperature and symptom screenings are taking place in most court entrances. Jury trials will resume in the next coming weeks. I'm very thankful to all the senior resident Superior Court judges who have submitted jury resumption plans. They have all worked very, very hard. Those plans are detailed and thoughtful and really show how seriously they take this pandemic and the work of the courts. Those plans, all of them, will be entered as local administrative plans, and you can find them at nccourts.gov as they are entered. We do know that there are some judicial districts that are not at this point resuming jury trials, but they do intend to do so at the first part of the year. These plans are very difficult to come up with. As you can very well imagine, Wake County is very different from Alexander County, and so those plans don't necessarily look alike. What we can tell you is that there is some commonality. The use of face coverings are required for all trials. I have allowed, after consultation with public health officials across the state and with Secretary Cohen's staff, that we have face covering requirements which allow for jurors as they are speaking and potential witnesses to temporarily remove face coverings when they are actively speaking, but they must be replaced. And other than that exception, everyone must continue to observe social distancing and wear a face covering. I'm very thankful to Alice and the State Bar for being tremendous partners as we've had to make adjustments through court orders through the last several months, and keeping the bar informed of what those orders are. It's been really great to speak with members of the bar across the state this summer to explain the orders, because I really wanted input from lawyers to talk about the practicality of those orders, and I certainly wanted them to be user-friendly and understandable to each of you. And it's been so important for us to also be able to rely on state bar counselors, and so I'm very grateful to each of you as well. This has been quite a time for our profession, and your leadership in your respective communities has been incredibly important as we've had to guide so many of our professionals during this period of time. This has been a difficult time for us professionally and for so many of us personally as well. And I'm so grateful for the North Carolina State Bar and for NC LAP for stepping up and being so responsive to the greatest needs to make sure that we have the mental health resources that we need during this period of time. And I'm so grateful that we've also opened up the dialogue around mental health issues for all of us as a profession, and that we all know that when we're in need, it's important for us to take care of ourselves, and it's also important to see that if one of our colleagues is in need, that we're also there to say and tap them on the shoulder to let them know that there is assistance available. We've talked a lot about e-courts over the last several weeks and months, and I'm so thankful that our progress for e-courts has not at all slowed down during this pandemic. We're really excited about the fact that we are launching Odyssey Case Management System through Wake County, Harnett, Johnston, and Lee counties, and Mecklenburg counties all next year. This will replace the existing VCAP, ACES, and Cypress systems that you may be familiar with. And we'll be talking more as we go on, because we certainly want to make sure that lawyers know how to utilize these important systems going forward, because I promise you they will be your best friend. Odyssey will also allow us to launch electronic filing and online access to court records, and so you will be able to be anywhere in the world and access court records from your personal devices. I'm very thankful to Director McKinley Wooten and his team at AOC for moving forward and keeping step. Even during this difficult period of time, they've not missed a beat. At the Supreme Court, we have worked very hard to update and standardize the format of more than a dozen rule sets maintained by the court. All of those rules, including the general rules of practice, the business court rules, and so many others, are all available online at no cost to you or to the public at nccourts.gov website. You can also sign up there to be notified by email of any future changes to the rules. I'm excited also that we have launched Guide and File. It's been really important for me to think about the fact that so many of our people who come before our courts, in fact, most people who come before our courts, represent themselves. But we've been really excited about Guide and File because lawyers are using it too. We know that this tool, which addresses practice areas of summary ejectment and absolute divorce and small estates and adult name changes and small claims, allow for people to go through the portal, use the system, and then be able to produce a complaint or an answer for these practice areas. And also going forward, we will add other areas of the law. So far, more than 2,000 people have used this system, and we're really grateful to the specialists, many of whom are members of the bar counselors who've been specialists to help us design this interview process to make this Guide and File what it should be. For more information on NC Guide and File or how to use it, you may go to ncguideandfile.org. We've talked some about the Faith and Justice Alliance, and we have launched and we're moving forward, and it's been really exciting to train clergy to identify legal issues and refer people to legal assistance, and also train and hold legal clinics in places of worship and faith organizations. We are doing this statewide, and never did we think a year ago when we thought about the Faith and Justice Alliance that we would be in the middle of a pandemic. And all of this is compounded by heightened racial tensions, and this is a wonderful time for the intersection of faith and law and justice. And so this project is moving along really wonderfully well. If you are interested or a member of your faith community might be, please go to ncfaithandjustice.org. We're doing a whole lot of work around driver's license restoration and so many other opportunities for folks. We have worked with DAs across the state and restored more than 10,000 people's driver's licenses, which is hugely exciting. We know that in North Carolina, we're the ninth most populous state in the nation. We have a population of more than 10 million plus and more than 1 million people who are driving without their licenses because they were not able to pay the initial fines and fees that were assessed, and those fines and fees snowballed. And so it's not uncommon in North Carolina for people's driver's licenses to be revoked 5, 10, and 15 years and sometimes more. And so to offer this kind of relief, y'all know folks are driving anyway, right? So it's better for them to be driving legally. And so it's been really exciting to work with district attorneys across the state on this. Folks can also go online to determine whether or not for themselves they are eligible for to have their driver's licenses restored, and they may go to ncfairchance.org. Super excited about that. And the North Carolina Pro Bono Resource Center is working so hard on a number of other initiatives around the COVID-19 small business and nonprofit initiative, disaster relief initiative. There's folks who are still trying to recover through from Hurricane Florence and Matthew. We're doing healthcare planning for frontline healthcare workers and so much more. It's really important that with so many people who represent themselves in our court system, for them to be able to navigate through our courts and for us to be able to offer them a bit of assistance has been really, frankly, rewarding and quite wonderful. So this next year presents its challenges, as we know that we're hearing that COVID-19, at least in the short term, will not get better, but will, in fact, get worse. And so it's important for us to continue to pull together, to come up with solutions around how we can be successful together, how we can make sure that our courts are functioning well together, and how we can make sure that we, as lawyers, are functioning well together. And the only way to do that is when we're able to do that and come together and understand the importance of the work, the administration of justice, and the rule of law. So I thank you all so much for all you do. Again, I congratulate the new officers, and I'm excited about what the new year brings. Thanks so much, and God bless you.
It is uncommon for a 50-year lawyer award to be presented posthumously. This is not intended as a dirge or even as a panegyric, but rather as a celebration of the life of an uncommon man. Now let me tell you the real story. That's how Judge Spainhauer would bring me and others into his confidence when discussing a delicate or not so delicate subject. That's but one example of the wit and intelligence, the cordiality of the extraordinary member we had in our profession. I learned that the Spainhauers hailed originally from a village in Switzerland. It's a little difficult for me to imagine the judge in lederhosen on an alpine peak somewhere yodeling, but hopefully he's in a similar pastoral setting now and at peace. And yet for all the bonhomie and humor that accompanied that unmistakable twinkle he always had in his right eye, it was always slightly more open than the left. That's known as saccade. This man was the picture of judicial demeanor on the bench. He was calm, he was deliberate, and when he needed to be, decisive. Born in Caldwell County, yet raised in Erwin, Tennessee, which sounds suspiciously eponymous to me, he received the finest education in the world at Davidson College, one entire decade before that school went off the reservation and began to admit women into its ranks. He then osmosed into UNC Law, which at that time was had a totally biased feeder system for Davidson graduates. After the first year, his legal studies were interrupted by a stint as an Army officer during the Vietnam conflict, but he also managed to marry Jane, the love of his life. And after completing military service and law school, he began a 27-year private practice in Concord, where he excelled as a litigator. In 1997, he was appointed to the bench by then Governor Hunt, and he served as a resident Superior Court judge until he stepped down in 2014. It was my privilege, perhaps more often than I wish, to appear before him on numerous occasions, including the Charlotte Speedway cases in which upwards of 50 attorneys might be in the courtroom at one time, all clamoring for justice for their clients injured or killed in the collapse of a walkway overpass. By trial, hearing, or settlement, Judge Spainhauer was able to bring to close about 100 claims in several years of Leviathan effort on his part. He was not averse to ruling against me, and in one such case, the Court of Appeals actually agreed with him. But my fondest memory is of my last appearance before him in Davie County right before he retired, and that was because I always genuinely knew, whether or not I wanted to admit it, that he would not only grasp quickly the operative legal principles in the case before him, but he would also follow them without fail. I cannot review all of the numerous commissions, boards, and committees he served on. They are legion, and usually he chaired them, but everyone in this room knows he faithfully served as a counselor and then president of this vital state agency. Colin and I look forward to catching up with him at the American College of Trial Lawyers meetings. He was president of both of his alumni associations in college and law school, president of the North Carolina Conference of Superior Court Judges, a member of the Board of Law Examiners, recipient of the North Carolina Bar Association's Citizen Lawyer Award in 2020, recipient of the Order of the Longleaf Pine conferred by the governor, and last but not least, he was an Eagle Scout and holder of the coveted Silver Beaver Award. Taken from us almost a month ago in the wake of a tragic accident, he leaves behind not only his wife, but a pod of lawyer progeny, Andrew, John, and Elizabeth Spainhauer, who's with us here today. John and I have been working as co-counsel together in a couple of cases in Cabarrus County since December of last year, and I sometimes think I'm looking at an absolute clone in demeanor as well as appearance. Finally, this year Judge Spainhauer again was slated to receive his 50-year lawyer recognition yesterday, along with others, for half a century of service to this profession, for which we honor him here today, albeit COVIDly. We grieve with his family, and we wish them magic and perseverance as they move into a new dawn. Unfailingly personable, patient, polite, cerebral, of impeccable integrity, the Honorable William Erwin Spainhauer was a lawyer's lawyer who has left an enduring legacy for all to embrace. Elizabeth, would you come forward?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate yours. Thank you.
Good morning. To those of you in front of me and those of you watching virtually, this is the State Bar's first virtual swearing-in ceremony, joining a long line of firsts for this year. I wouldn't be honest if I said that I wasn't a little disappointed to have missed all the fellowship of the October meeting, the 50-year lawyer luncheon, the counselor dinner, the banquet. It's not quite the same virtually. However, rather than focusing on what we're missing, what we're doing without, I'd like to focus this morning on gratitude. I'm grateful to the Chief Justice for swearing us in this morning. It was a special occasion made more special by the participation of someone so greatly admired and respected. I am very grateful for the members of my family and close friends that are able to be here, and for those who are here in spirit, who are unable to come because of COVID. I'm grateful for my legal assistant, Liz Duffy. I am grateful for my colleagues at Shelbray, without whose support I would not be here. I have long known how fortunate I am to work with such a great group of people. I am grateful for the past presidents of the State Bar. You've heard the story of one of them this morning, Judge Spainhauer, and there is a long line like that. Their shoes are impossible to fill, but their shoulders are strong, and each one has lifted the ones that follow. I am grateful to serve this next year with Colin and Darrin and Marcia, not only fellow officers, but great friends. Grateful for the leaders at the Bar Association and the opportunity to work with them to try to better our profession. I'm grateful for the staff at the State Bar who've worked without missing a beat these last several months to make sure that the lawyers of this state have the support they need. And last, but certainly not least, I'm grateful for Rick, my husband of 41 years and counting. Rick is quite simply my better half in every sense of the word. He speaks truth to me, even when I don't want to hear it, and holds me accountable, and everyone should have someone like that. And I intend to bring that same sense of accountability to my service as president of the State Bar. Each of us that is licensed as an attorney in North Carolina, each of us that has that privilege, is accountable to the people we serve and in a larger sense to the system of justice of which we're a part. Our rules of professional responsibility provide a framework for our ethical practice of law, and the preamble to those rules reminds us of the type of lawyer we should aspire to be and reminds us of what it means to be part of a self-regulating profession. We all study the rules in law school, but once we pass the bar, we rarely pull them out and read them again. And I'm not sure I ever read the preamble until I served on the Ethics Committee of the State Bar. I've been asked what I hope to accomplish in my term. Well, it's hard to accomplish much of anything in 1 year, but I find my guidance in the preamble, which tells us that a lawyer should seek improvement of the law, improvement of access to the legal system, improvement of the administration of justice, and improvement of the quality of service rendered by the legal profession. Fortunately, both immediate past President Gray Wilson and Colin Willoughby had these same goals and sought to improve the quality of service rendered by the legal profession during their tenures. I hope to build on the initiatives that they began. Rather than relying on a model that uses punishment or the fear of punishment as a carrot for better behavior, we believe that lawyers want to do what is right, and given the opportunity and the resources, will proactively seek self-improvement. We're currently working on the creation and implementation of self-assessment tools that will be coupled with provision of resources to help lawyers make improvements as needed. And the first area in which we'll be doing this will be cybersecurity. Improvement of the quality of service rendered by the legal profession requires not only competent lawyers, but lawyers who are healthy in mind and body. This is why the Lawyers Assistance Program, or LAP as we call it, is one of the most important programs offered by the State Bar. Anxiety, depression, and substance abuse are common, some might say prevalent, in the legal profession. And sadly, the fear of being found out keeps many from seeking help. The increased stress and strain of practicing law in this time and this environment may understandably have contributed to an increase in those problems. And we at the State Bar will continue to work with LAP and other resources to make sure that each lawyer knows that he or she does not have to suffer alone. Help is available. This year has also shown us, like no other, that we must focus on improvement of access to the legal system and administration of justice. We must start by recognizing that many people have lost confidence in the system of justice. Chief Justice Beasley recently stated, "We must openly acknowledge the disparities that exist and are too often perpetuated by our justice system." In this regard, we have several important initiatives underway at the State Bar. First, we are educating ourselves on matters of racial equity, implicit bias, and access to justice gap. I heard a metaphor the other day that made a lot of sense. It said, if you see a crack in the wall, before you decide about repairing it, you better go in the basement and examine the foundation before you can decide what structural repairs are needed. We are going in the basement and we are looking at the foundation. We are actively considering changes to our preamble to make it clear that our aspirations include the values of non-discrimination. We are studying changes to our rules. This is not being undertaken lightly. It has been and will continue to be a thorough and deliberative process, as it should be. COVID-19 has forced on us some temporary changes that I believe will have a lasting and positive impact. Last year at this time, most of us had never heard of Zoom. Now we conduct business on Zoom or WebEx or a similar platform every day. Lawyers are often slow to change, but have adapted remarkably quickly to this new technology, and I believe most have found some silver linings in the clouds. We have a great committee studying innovations that we hope will help provide both accessible and affordable legal services. But this technology must be coupled with the efforts of individual lawyers. In closing, I want to share a story with you. Hector Ordonez is a native and citizen of Guatemala who entered the United States illegally in 1997. In deportation proceedings, he testified that he had been conscripted into the military as a teenager and physically punished because he refused to torture or kill others. He fled to the United States. He asked for protection based on religious and political persecution, but was denied, and his appeal ended up at the Fourth Circuit. The court appointed attorney Samuel Hartzell, a young associate at Womble Bond Dickinson here in Raleigh, to represent Mr. Ordonez as pro bono counsel. And by all accounts, Mr. Hartzell answered that call with exemplary service. His hard work and determination and skill, and that of the rest of the Womble Bond team, convinced the court to give Mr. Ordonez a second chance to seek protection. How do I know this? Because of a letter sent to Colin Willoughby, a letter written by John Holt, a government attorney in Maryland, who was the opposing counsel. So let that sink in. The opposing counsel, a seasoned attorney with more than 40 years' experience, said, "It was a privilege to argue this case with Mr. Hartzell, and I was indeed inspired by how my opponent worked. He is the poster person of what so many lawyers do without recognition and praise every day, the right thing at the right place at the right time, freely, out of a sense of their most noble calling." Thank you, Mr. Holt, for taking the time to write, and thank you to Samuel Hartzell and the many others like him in our state. You are the State Bar, and I am privileged to serve with you and for you. Thank you. As I said before, in talking about strong shoulders, I was referring a lot to Colin Willoughby. He has truly been the perfect person for this time. And he has served with patience, with quiet reserve, and yet with iron will. And it's hard to believe that the year has come to a close. And we, as a small gesture, you can't really convey how much we appreciate him. But Colin, if you'll come up here, we have just a couple of things that we'd like to give you. First, this is the gavel that you never used.
That's good on a lot of reasons.
Yeah. And then just a little small scrapbook that contains some pictures from his years of service to the State Bar.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're
Thank
so
you, Barbara.
welcome.
Thank you all. Thank you, Barbara. And I do want to take just a moment to say thanks to a lot of folks. Thanks first and foremost to my wife, Tricia, who's been, didn't know I'd get emotional, enormously supportive in appropriately constructive and keeping me grounded. Thank you. Thank all the counselors, the officers, the State Bar staff, and so many other people who have worked to make this year, not my year, but our year. It's been very important. This has been a year of learning and growing for all of us at the State Bar, and I appreciate so much the way we've handled it. It reminds me of when we come to these times, what all our dear departed friend Alan Head, who was a fellow Y-Rat and loved Camp Seagull, and Alan would say, always try to leave the campsite better than you found it. And thank you to everybody who has helped us in doing that this year. I think we have done that. And thank you especially to Barbara and Darrin and Marcia for taking on this responsibility for the next year. May God bless us and protect us all. Thank you. And we'll take a little short recess, about 15.